Hi, good morning everyone. So we have our author here today, Niharika Nigam, as you all know, and she just recently released her book, 3 to 1 Jump, and we're here to know more about her and the book as well. So I welcome you, Niharika, to Invincible.
Thank you so much, Poorva. Thank you for having me.
And you look great.
Thank you.
As always. So let's begin. And I would love to know your journey from being a marketing graduate to poetry writing and directorship and now authorship. So how has it been? And like this dynamism in your life. I would love to know more about it, and I'm sure the readers as well.
It's actually been just one day at a time. So it's not felt as glamorous as you just made it sound, because it's all happened one day at a time, one brick at a time. We started India's highest bungee jumping platform. Back when I was 19, I was in college, so it was started by my father. And at that time it was this exciting new prospect, and it was a first for India. Okay, so when we started Jump in Heights, which is our bungee jumping project in Rishikesh, back in 2010, we were the first ones to bring bungee jumping into India, and it was a very exciting prospect because we had no idea how it's going to do, how India is going to take to something as extreme as bungee jumping. So from there on, it just became like this very obvious thing that, I'm going to go study and then I'm going to come back and join this, because like, why else would I go anywhere else, and from there, I think it just kind of took off. I always really enjoyed writing though. So in fact, even in the last decade, even as we've kind of gone on and promoted ourselves to the youth of India about how safe we are, I've actually done that through my writing. So I was also very lucky that I got to kind of bring my skill set and not just have to discard it, but I actually got to use it to kind of further our own brand as well. So it kind of allowed me to stay close to my passion, which has always been writing, and I also got to experience people get over their fears through what it is that we've provided them. In 2019, we also set up our second location in Goa. But I think through these years, what has been really unusual for me to see is that moment on the edge that a jumper shares with their jump master. So that is really unique, because it always reminded me of the Krishna-Arjun analogy that we talk about. I mean, that everybody in India just grows up listening to. I had not read the Bhagavad Gita at the point that I started writing this book, but I always knew that that's an analogy that stuck. Because even when I would go through the testimonials that people have left for us and everything, it's such a transformative moment for people to be standing at the edge and take that leap of faith and face their fears and then overcome them. It is quite an overwhelming journey. And what really does further that experience is that moment which they share with the jump master, at the point where they bring courage to them. I mean, actually, how I would put it is, the jump master allows the jumper to gather their own courage. And the jumper over there, he puts all their trust into the jump master as well. So I think it's a dynamic which is really unique and special. And that formed the basis for my book.
Amazing. So when was the first time you had your jump? Like at what age?
I was 19. It was actually my birthday when we inaugurated Rishikesh. It was 2nd May of 2010. That was my first bungee jump. It was actually Jump in Heights' first bungee jump.
Okay. So what was it like? What was your experience?
It was crazy. It was absolutely insane. I mean, we had all of our family and friends who had flown down from Nasik to be there with us. We had people from around the country who were there with us. And, over there, everybody was very excited and all. But then suddenly just halted in their tracks and they were like, यार ये सब तो ठीक है, but bungee jump तो हम नहीं करने वाले हैं. ये इंडिया में पहले कभी हुआ भी नहीं है. And we don't know, how can we trust the safety, and the person has to jump from 83 meters and everything. So it was crazy. My mother also, she had this strict protocol that there's no way I'm going to jump and all of that. But it was my birthday and I really wanted to. So I kind of wiggled my way out of that situation, and somehow my parents directly saw me on the camera back at the, like the cafeteria, and they just saw me. I was standing at the edge, and I was supposed to be the first jumper. I had my cousins behind me in line, and that's how it happened. It was, in fact, I remember when I jumped, my scream also didn't come out of me. I was so overwhelmed. It was just such an unexpected feeling, because up till that point, all I had done in the name of adventure was things like roller coasters and whatever entertainment theme parks. I just assumed it's the same thing, and it was not. It was extremely, it was overwhelming, and it was extreme, and it was something that is just unmatched.
Yes, I believe in the most thrilling of times, our mind just goes off, and it's just the heartbeat you can hear.
Yeah. Yeah. Suddenly, I've also loved writing about it. It's just there is this unusual quality to that solitude. It's like you're very aware of your environment, of nature, of your heartbeat. You're extremely, you're just suddenly tuned in. So which is why, when you can have a conversation and you can be distracted, and there are very few things which just demand all of your attention to kind of be locked into that moment. And bungee jumping is one of those things. Actually, most of these extreme sports, which are, which really test you to your limits, they kind of have that power. So, yes.
So, your journey to the directorship, how was that? Studies?
No, like I said, it was, I came into this business by way of my family. My father started it. So, it was, I'm the director of business development. So, I still look after marketing and promotions, and that's what I do more of. We have wonderful teams in both the locations that handle it, and it takes a village. So there are a lot of people who handle very, very important responsibilities in our project. But as long as we're all working in sync, I think that's what makes the brand.
Definitely. So throughout all, where did the inspiration for this book spring from?
I always knew I really loved writing. In fact, I was recently at Crosswords for one of my book signings, and I'm yet to post about it, but I'm going to be writing about how actually I think the beginning of it was me going as a child to Crosswords. Crosswords was like this shiny bookstore in Nasik, where I come from. It's a small town, and Crosswords, when Crosswords came in also, I remember it was one of the newest bookstores back when I was in school, and even to this day it kind of holds that kind of appeal, right? Like it's like a really cool place to be. And I used to just go and kind of browse through all the books, and like most readers, you kind of end up picking up a lot more books than you can probably ever possibly read. But there's just some kind of joy to that as well. So even when I would do that, I think one of my initial dreams was back in school when I used to love writing, and my teachers used to tell me I'm really good at it, and my father would always come to my school, when we used to have those open houses when you get your answer sheets and all that. My parents would just come to read my essays, my father particularly. So I think back then, I had just seen this dream that one day I want to have my book up in Crosswords. So I think that's what formed the foundation. And then eventually the idea of this book, of course, came from my work, because that's what I was exposed to, that's what I was dealing with day in and day out. So even if I'm back in Nasik, ultimately what we're looking at is customer reviews, we're talking to people, we're doing all of that, which kind of, finally when I started writing the book during COVID, which is when I had the time to pen down a book finally, it was like I couldn't think of any other theme. This theme had been in my mind for so long, and I did not want this to be my debut book because this required a lot of research into the Bhagavad Gita and everything, which I thought would be I thought it's something I'll do when I'm 50. But eventually when I sat down to write, it's just I couldn't think of a second theme because this particular one had been in my mind for so long. So I just decided to just give in and just 3, 2, 1 jump.
I think this book is what every one of us required, in that COVID times, something of a solace, So moving ahead, I would like to know, what are the challenges you faced throughout the process of the book writing, and how did you do it? You did it from home, or you would sit in cafes, or what was it like, the entire process and challenges you faced?
I had this very romantic idea about writing books that, writers just sit with a messy bun in like pretty cafes and write these books, and it's really not like that. I also started out with I made a 3-month plan. Okay, every day I'm supposed to write this many words, and this is how it's supposed to go, and I'm supposed to finish this book in 3 months. And obviously, when you start doing it, you realize that plans can be plans, but the reality of it can be very different. And writing, especially with anything to do with art, it's just not linear. So not every day am I in the zone to be writing. Not every day can I harness those emotions. Not every day do I want to harness those emotions. So at the same time, you can't also just be, dependent on your whim, because then it'll never get done. So I did kind of get myself to the table every single day, but how much I accomplished, I kind of let that flow as it went. So eventually, jo 3 months ka plan tha, it took me about a year, but I'm very happy with how it turned out. And also, I think the elements of COVID came in because it was the time when I was writing the book. I did not want the book to be about COVID. It was never meant to be. But I think COVID set the context for all the questions. So essentially, this book is a reimagining of the Bhagavad Gita in contemporary times. If the Bhagavad Gita had to play out again today, what that conversation between Krishna and Arjuna would look like. So for that, of course, I knew I wanted my Jumper and my Jump Master in place. COVID, though, set the context beautifully in terms of the reason as to why those questions arose in the mind of my protagonist, which is Nanki Mehta. And kind of it just kind of stitched the whole story together.